Hey, so I love Marvel. I unfortunately don't have Disney Plus. If anyone wants to let me use their account. But I don't have Disney Plus, and so I'm cat sitting for my neighbor who has Disney Plus. I'm just like mooching off of her Disney Plus because I can never watch Marvel movies except for like the OG Avengers that I have on DVD. I have just been like watching all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I've seen the third one recently enough that I don't think it warrants a rewatch quite yet, and also it's just sad, so I don't know if I want to watch it again. But I've like spent the last 2 days watching the first and second one, and I'm just like, this is like peak cinema in my opinion. And let me I feel like I don't have credentials. I don't know how worthy that is. It says Emma M. Beardsley, the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Film, Video, and Media Studies, cum laude. Anyways, it's such a subjective thing that I just don't feel like I even have the right to like criticize or whatever. I was thinking, and I'm like, this, especially since like this, like, I mean, I would say that like Guardians is probably like one of my favorite like installments of Marvel movies. I love the characters. I love like the whole lore behind it. I love the relationships between the characters. But also just because of the environment in which it takes place, it is so visually stunning and just has so many. Oh my god, the soundtrack! Can't believe I didn't even mention that. The soundtrack is phenomenal, and I just think it's just one of my favorite. And I was thinking, and I'm like, it's so wild to me that like Martin Scorsese hates Marvel movies and thinks that they're bad. And I actually think I had a discussion about this in one of my film classes when I was in college. I was like people were talking about like how like Marvel movies versus like other movies, and I'm like, why is it either or? Like why is everything in this society at this point either or? Why can't two things be true at the same time? Like, yes, I love film. Like, I literally, out of everything that I could have studied when I went to college, I chose film. Like, I can recognize good cinema and I can appreciate good cinema. But I also fucking like Spider-Man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I like shitty 80s high school movies. Like, why is it this, like, either or type thing where it's like, you can either like Marvel movies or you can like good movies? First of all, Marvel is good movies. But even if it wasn't, you can like both. Like, got me thinking, like, what the fuck is a good movie? Like, what is a good movie? Because what is it? Film is literally such a recent art form. Like, other art forms like painting and dance and music, like, that's been around since like humanity has been around. Film is so new. Why do any of us even feel like we have any sort of credibility to even talk about it in the way that a lot of people talk about it? It's wild to me. What is art? What is art? Because I know nothing about painting. I know nothing about like art history. I don't know. It's not something that interests me. I don't know how to paint. I don't know how to draw. I'm not into that stuff. And I can look at like a Picasso painting and think like, what is this? Like, what is that? I don't understand what that is, and I don't understand what Picasso was trying to say at all. But first of all, I don't really care enough. And also, he probably meant something, you know? It's not like he's just okay, put it in a museum now. Like, even the worst movie to ever be made ever, that was somebody's project, you know? Like, somebody put so much work and so much effort, and I truly think that a lot of the people who criticize movies don't even think about the stuff that goes into it. Like, my brother was in one scene of Joker 2, and he told me it took them 3 weeks to film that one scene, and everybody fucking hates the movie anyways. So few people actually understand like what goes into making a film, and then they're like sitting with like 50 empty Mountain Dew cans and like Call of Duty on the monitor, like, yeah bro, I don't know, I thought it was mid. I thought it was mid. Okay, we get, like, there are, and like, yes, like, I can tell you, like, there are things that make a movie objectively good or bad. That's just a part of the art form. At the end of the day, in my opinion, it's like, if a movie makes you feel something, then it was a good movie in my opinion. That's the whole point of art, is that it speaks to you and it makes you feel something. That's why people go to like art museums. And when you're walking around an art museum, listen to this. When you're walking around an art museum, are you seeing the same type of painting over and over and over? No, you're seeing different styles of painting. You're seeing paintings from all different artists. You're seeing sculptures. You're seeing all different types of art. And all of that art is beautiful to someone. And all of that art, even if it's not beautiful to them, it might speak to someone. And we're not looking at like Van Gogh next to like Picasso, and those are like literally the only two artists that I can name, so that's why I'm like only using them. We're not looking at that and thinking, well, this one's better, because they're both good just in their own way. And also, I don't even know if I can call them good, because what is good? Especially with like art form like film, as I mentioned, it's so new, and it's one of the newest art forms that we have. I think that like since the 19th century, we've somehow come up with like what a good movie is and what a bad movie is. Like, my brother was showing me this movie. It was just sort of on. He was watching it and I was like in the room or whatever. And he was like, just based off of like the looks of it, like, who do you think directed this? And I was like, I'm getting like Fincher vibes. And he was like, you're right. And I was like, first of all, that just goes to show how distinguishable a certain director's, art is. Like, I could literally, I knew nothing about this movie, and I still saw it, and I was like, this looks like a David Fincher movie, and it literally was, because that's how discernible his art is compared to like that of a Stanley Kubrick movie. Show somebody a Stanley Kubrick movie, and anyone who has any sort of knowledge about Stanley Kubrick would probably be able to say like, oh, this looks like a Stanley Kubrick movie, because everything is so specific to that director, and that's why it's hard to compare, like, well, this movie's better than this one, like, but in what are we measuring that on? Your opinion? Because how come every other art form, it's like, it's subjective and it's like, just whatever, but then when it comes to movies, it's like, yeah, that movie sucked, so I didn't like that movie, so it sucked. Like, I get asked like at least once a week, like, do I have a Letterboxd? But Letterbox, is that what it's called? Letterbox? Is it Letterboxd or Letterbox? Letterbox? It doesn't even sound like anything at this point. Letterbox. Anyways, I get asked like all the time if I have a Letterbox account, and I'm like, no, I don't, because I literally I don't believe in like rating movies. It sounds so weird, but like, even me, as somebody who I literally graduated with a degree in film, I still don't feel like I can sit here and be like, that movie was bad or that movie was good. I don't feel like I can do that. It makes me wonder, like, I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that I do have that knowledge and I do have that, very minimal education, that I know it's not my place to, like, talk about that, and I know it's not my place to, criticize that. Like, I don't pay attention to, like, Rotten Tomatoes scores. Like, obviously I have that confirmation bias where it's like, if I like a movie and it has a good score on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm like, see, even Rotten Tomatoes thinks so. But when I like a movie and it has a bad score on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm like, okay, fuck them. They don't know what they're talking about. But it's like, think about it. Who is coming up with these Rotten Tomato scores? People. People with opinions. People with views. People, with preferences. This isn't like an objective thing, like the sky is blue and grass is green. This is like, these are all opinions, and this is all in the eye of the beholder and who's watching it and consuming this media. So it's crazy. If we didn't have movies that were bad, we wouldn't have movies that were good. So whenever y'all bring up, well, it's not The Godfather, then what is The Godfather? Tell me. Is that what a good movie is to you? Yes, The Godfather is an incredible movie. It's one of the best movies of all time. But the reason that it's so good is because it's so rare. They don't make movies like that anymore. They couldn't even make in the same series as good as the first one was. Like, arguably a lot of people, whatever, but like, even, everybody can agree that like the third Godfather isn't the best movie in the world, but like, so even with the same actors and the same director and it's still not going to reach that level, because that's how rare the Godfather is. If every movie was good, that would just be boring. I'm not on like Twitter and I'm not on TikTok or anything, so like, when it comes to hearing other people's opinions and stuff, I'm just like not aware of it. Like, I didn't even know that people didn't like the new Joker movie until like I saw one of my friends talking about it. I'm just not aware of it. I have better things to do than like doom scroll on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck Elon Musk wants me to call it. Have that time where it's like I'm looking at people's tweets saying, oh, this movie sucked or whatever. I just go to the movies, I'll watch a movie, and I'll be like, oh, that was good. And then I go on with my life, because I don't care what random people on Twitter have to say. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Film is such a subjective thing. It's crazy that we have, as a society, come up with an idea of what is good and what is bad. What is good and what is bad? It's like, yes, there are technical things that make a movie good or bad. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not our turn to talk. It should make you feel something. It should make you feel something. Like, that's all I can really say, is that I think that it should make you feel something, and I think it should also, oh my god, don't even get me started, because I know that I said I'd make a whole video about the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie. Whenever I see people talking shit about that, I just don't even care, because I know, and I started off my last video with this quote, I know that Sharon Tate's sister appreciated Margot Robbie's role and portrayal of her sister so much, to the point that she literally said it was like seeing her sister for the first time in 50 years. So quite frankly, I don't give two shits if you didn't think it was a good movie, or if you thought it was boring, whatever. I don't care, because it meant something to someone. Not only did it mean something to me, but it meant something to Deborah, and it meant something to Tony DeMaria, J.C. Brink's nephew, who I've had the pleasure of speaking with. It means something to these people. They lost their family, they lost their sisters, they lost their uncles, they lost their loved ones and their friends tragically. And for the first time in 50 years, they got to see these loved ones portrayed in a respectful manner. And not only does that mean something to me as like a fan of Sharon Tate, as somebody who's spent a lot of time doing a lot of research on the other victims, as you can obviously see in my last video, it meant something to me. You know, like, I wasn't born in 1969. I wasn't there. Like, I don't have that personal connection. But as somebody who is genuinely empathetic towards other people and their struggles, it does also, it's like, that means so much to me personally, knowing that it had an effect on her sister, who's like the only surviving member of Sharon's family. Barbara Boucher. I'm just assuming it's pronounced Boucher, because Bouchette doesn't sound as good. Anyways, so this girl, Miss Barbara, oh, there we go. She was friends with Sharon Tate, and this was what she said in 2019 about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quote, originally, I did not want to watch it, and when Quentin came to Rome, he asked me to come to the premiere. I told him no, I don't want to watch it. I'm angry because I don't like the idea of you using my friend's murder to make a movie. Then, insert name of film critic whose name I cannot pronounce, and other people told me that the movie is really not what I think it is. He made a masterpiece, as always, so I forgave him. I felt inside of that period again. Steve McQueen, he was one of my boyfriends. He referenced so many people I've known and that were part of my life. I've got to say that the choice of Margot Robbie as Sharon was perfect. Very great. She looked like an innocent girl, a girl who didn't realize how beautiful she was, just like Sharon. So, you have Sharon Tate's sister, you have J.C. Brink's nephew, you have Sharon Tate's best friends literally being like, this movie was not what I thought it was going to be at all. And I felt, not only did Deborah say I could see my sister again for the first time in 50 years, but Barbara's over here saying, like, I felt inside of that era again. Like, she lived in that era, and she was even talking about, like, he's mentioning these people that, like, I know. Like, I dated Steve McQueen. I think that that is just the most powerful thing, and that's what cinema is for. Like, that's literally what, you think that people are paying attention to, like, this shot looks a little funky, or this scene could have been a little shorter. No, people aren't looking into that. They're looking into this story and the way that it impacted the viewers and the people whose lives these stories were based on, and their friends and their loved ones who have had to live for 55 years knowing that they were so brutally taken from us in the most unfathomable way, and trying to deal with that and trying to grapple with that. And all these years later, there's still these horrible, dehumanizing documentaries being made about the victims. There are these inaccurate portrayals about the victims. There are constantly being more Charles Manson and Manson family documentaries being made. Nobody is remembering the victims the way that Tarantino did. Nobody's doing that. And that's what's so powerful about that movie, and that's why it's like literally one of my favorite movies ever. But also that's just like, that's just one example of when people are like, oh, I didn't like that movie. I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit. I don't care, because that movie means a lot to me, and it means a lot to so many people whose pain and trauma I cannot even begin to comprehend. So, moral of the story is, I feel like we have gotten away from what true cinema and art should be, and that it's something that is different for everyone. No two movies are going to be the same. As long as it speaks to someone, as long as it means something to someone, I just don't think it's fair for us to say that this movie was objectively bad or even objectively good. It just is. That's what movies are for. That's what art is for. It's to be interpreted. It's to make you feel something. It is to be viewed and to be felt. And it's not up to us to say how somebody else should feel about a movie. It's not up to us to say that, oh, you're stupid because you liked this movie that got bad ratings or that I didn't think was good. Art is, there's like some quote about that or something. I swear I'm like quoting something when I say art is supposed to make you feel something. But like, is it not? Like, what the fuck is the point of art if it's not going to make you feel something? I mean, yeah, it's visually stimulating, it's entertaining, it's whatever, but it's like, I feel like I'm getting so like philosophical right now, for no reason, but like, what is the point of it if it's not going to make you feel something? And then also, like, when I go back to Marvel, it's like, I'm not a huge like sci-fi fantasy person. That's why it's just absolutely shocking that Guardians of the Galaxy, out of all the Marvel, like, you know, universes and whatever, is like my favorite part of it. But I think it's because like I'm not just looking and thinking like, why is this raccoon talking? Why is there a talking branch? Why is she green? Who is this blue robotic bald girl? Like, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking like, well, the green girl and the blue robotics girl, like, they have lore, like, they're sisters, they have that history, they have that feud. And then like also Rocket, the raccoon, the talking raccoon, has a devastating backstory, which they dive into in the third volume of the movie. Gamora and Peter, they have like this cute little unspoken, like little love thing going on, and it's so cute to watch, because it's like, yeah, they're completely different like species, and they're in outer space, and it's not that believable, especially from someone who doesn't know anything about outer space at all, or like science or anything like that. But you see past all of that. You see them as, you know, these beings with, they have the same ability to feel these emotions that we feel as humans. They have the ability to feel mourning and to feel devastation and romantic, even sexual love, and to feel these things. And when you look past the fact that they might not be human, or at least all human like we are, that is, in my opinion, is what makes a movie good, is that we're not looking at it and thinking this is so ridiculous. We're looking at it like, this raccoon has feelings and it has emotions and it is able to create these bonds and these friendships. I mean, that's the only reason he can even understand what Groot is saying, is because he's created that bond with him. And to anybody else, they're looking at it like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Like, what is going on in this movie right now? Like with Marvel, it's like, they didn't just pop up out of nowhere. No pun intended. Okay. Like, these characters have been part of our culture for so long. They started off in comic books, and that lore, for lack of a better word, was already being created and being established. And, you know, so it's not just like they're just coming up with these random characters and throwing them into the movie. It's like these characters actually have like stories behind them. They have relationships. I just think that's so beautiful. And it's, when you can see past that, and when you can see past the fact that, like, hey, she's green, he's half human. That's what's so beautiful, is that to some people it can seem ridiculous, like, this is just insane, this is sci-fi, this could never happen, like, blah 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 blah. And yeah, it probably couldn't happen. I'm saying probably because I don't know what's going on up there. I've never been there. Yeah, it's probably not something that would happen. But when you look into just the characters themselves and the things that they go through and the trauma that they've experienced and the relationships that they've been able to create, it's genuinely a beautiful thing. So if anybody's ever like, oh, you like that movie? Like, that movie sucked, they're probably just annoying, because like, I've never said that to someone. Like, I've never said that to someone. If somebody's like, oh, I liked this movie, I'm not like, that movie sucked. I might be like, oh, you liked it? Like, I didn't really like it that much, but, you know, whatever. Like, so that's my little rant for today, because I'm sick of seeing people put their blood, sweat, and tears into movies, and then they just get shit on. It's art, it's subjective. It is not an objective thing, and everybody has a right to have their own opinions about stuff like that, whether it's good or bad. What even is good or bad? What's pretty and what's ugly? We don't know. We just came up with it. It's not an exact science. It's based on preference. It's based on opinion. It's based on viewing experience. There's so much that goes into it. And at the end of the day, if it makes you feel something, then that's all that matters. And if that's what you take away from that situation and from that viewing experience, then that's what you took away from it. And nobody can take that away from you. Okay. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching.